Hey guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. Jay Helmsing here. Today I'm going to review a gun that I never expected to own. So I went to the gun store recently, and in the case they had the Walther PPQ SC or subcompact. If you've seen my other review on the Walther PPQ, the full-size one, it wasn't all that favorable. I liked the trigger on it, however, it had some ergonomic issues, especially right down here where this little mag button goes on the M2 models. Right here is where it would pinch on my middle finger, just as I would kind of get that high grip developed, and then when I really clamp down with that support hand, it would just kind of pinch it in there. So I really had some ergonomic issues with that gun. I also had some issues with reliability. I had some issues with it cycling ammunition properly a few times, and I just found, especially with the sights kind of being polymer and all that kind of stuff, just a few too many drawbacks. So I got rid of that gun fairly quickly, and I really did never look back. So anyway, fast forward to about a week or two ago, I was in the gun store and I did notice this gun, and just kind of on a whim, I said, hey, can I check that out? And I put it in my hand, and when I did, something magic happened. I noticed right away that there is a slightly different profile here on this little ridge that I continuously have problems with on the full size. That's kind of chiseled away a little bit, and it's not noticeable with the eye, the naked eye. But if you feel it or put it in your hand, you can kind of notice some ergonomic differences. So just that small little change really kind of alleviated that issue for me there, that hot spot developing on this finger here. And I just noticed that, it just felt like it was formed around my hand. So, some people have said that it feels like they just took clay and kind of, crammed it into your hand for this grip. And I couldn't agree more. It's very, very ergonomic. And that's the first thing that I noticed about this. And then the next thing I did, the fatal mistake that I made, was I went and dry fired it at the gun store, and when I did, the world stood still for a moment or two. Now, the original PPQ that I reviewed had a nice trigger. There's no doubt about it. It had a really nice trigger. This trigger is phenomenal. I really can't say that I've ever felt a trigger out of the box as nice as this trigger on a striker fired gun. It is absolutely fantastic. So we'll get into that in just a few moments, but I did want to set the stage as to why I actually spent my hard-earned money on this PPQ when I'm not necessarily a Walther guy, not necessarily had really good luck with the PPQ line. I always kind of respected the gun. I really wished it would perform better for me when I did the initial review. And who knows, maybe I got a lemon. Several people said that they've never had the issues that I did with that gun. So maybe I just got a bad one out of the lot. But I just kind of get the feeling that some changes have been made with this subcompact, and really nothing seems to transfer over to the full size. So I know it came fresh from the drawing board, but they have made some subtle tweaks here and there that I hope to cover in this review. So we'll start top to bottom as I usually do. This is the non-LE version, or I guess the standard version, as you'd say, with the subcompact Walther. So this one has the polymer night sight, or polymer sights. There are no night sights on this gun. I believe the night sight version has the tritium inserts in steel, so you can get these in steel night sights if I am correct. But these, just the standard polymer sights on this gun here, just like you get on the full size. Not my most favorite sight picture, and I'm obviously not a fan of polymer sights, but with that said, they are better than what you get from Glock. They're just a little more robust. They seem to be probably a little more durable than what you get there. Also, this one back here in the rear is adjustable for windage. I don't really know that you need that, because obviously most of these dovetailed sights you can just kind of adjust for windage by banging them around left or right or whatever. But I have left them completely like they were from the factory, and they shoot very true, just as straight from the factory, just zeroed up there. So no issues there at all with the sights. It's pretty much point of aim. So if you're used to the Glock sights where you're kind of hitting, your point of impact is going to be the top ledge of that sight. That seems to be where these are impacting for me. And there are plenty of sight options out there. So these take the same sights as the standard PPQ. So you're kind of in luck there. You can get some fiber optics if you want, or really whatever you wanted to do if you wanted to change the sights out on this. The other thing you might notice is the absence of ridges here in the top. So in the longer versions of this gun, or the more full-size versions, I guess I should say, you have those kind of sipes or serrations up here that run the full length on that rib. Not here. It is raised like that, but those are absent. I'm not really sure why they did that. Maybe just to save machining costs or something like that. The other thing you'll notice is that it's just a hair shorter than the full-size version is going to be. So just for comparison's sake, now I know some of you guys out there absolutely blow gaskets when I compare things to Glocks because you just hate Glock with a passion. Sorry, but most people know the size of a Glock 19, and this is old one gun here. So let's see what we have. So if we line these up, just talking the slide for now, you'll notice it's just a hair smaller than you're going to get out of a Glock 19, and that's with my thumb kind of lining these two up in the rear here. So just a hair shorter in the slide than the Glock 19, which is kind of unusual for a subcompact. So it's got a fairly, I guess you'd say, long slide for a subcompact model, more like a compact version. Not a whole lot's been chopped off, but just enough. The barrel is smaller, the barrel is shorter, and you can kind of see that port being a little bit further up, not necessarily in the middle of the slide, but pushed more toward the end of the slide there. So it is just a little bit shorter than you're going to get out of your standard PPQ. So along with that, the slide serrations, just like you'd expect from Walther, these are fantastic slide serrations. They're nice and thick. Also, if you'll notice, I really like this kind of triangulated or pyramid-shaped slide that they have here because it really is pretty conducive to grabbing. It just kind of fits in your hand nicely. It's also pretty good for carrying. It lets the gun kind of give you just a little bit of wiggle room. It doesn't feel like you're carrying a stapler on your side. So it's kind of contour there, and that's nice. And it also, kind of draws your eyes up to these sights here. So for me, it's just kind of a natural, attraction to this top point here where your sights are going to be located. So that's also kind of a benefit. I really like the slide design here. And again, these serrations are just fantastic. I mean, they're just perfect in depth. Very grippy, but also not abrasive if you carry it up against your skin. So awesome to see there. You have the standard slide catch, slide release that is ambi on both sides there, and it's nice and big, and it is out of the way enough. I have not had any issues running this into slide lock or anything like that. So that's kind of nice to see there, and it does function. I know some of these ambis don't function on the right side, which would be for your lefty shooters. This one absolutely does. So very nicely done there with basically all the ergonomics of this gun. So we'll talk next about the mag release. You got your standard M2 style here, which is you can take this out. They supply a lefty version you can put in there. This one does not rotate over or flip over, but you can install that other one if you're left-handed. So this does have the option to be fully ambi, if you are a left-handed shooter. So that's kind of nice to see. Functions excellent. So it's out just enough that you're going to have really easy time getting to it, but also it's not out so far. As you can see, that kind of nub that I hate kind of protects it. So if you do carry it up against your body or you have some kind of impact, it's probably not going to knock your mag out unintentionally there. So that's also nice to see. So again, ergonomics, controls, layout of this gun are pretty fantastic. I really don't have anything to complain about or gripe about as far as that's concerned. The grip we have down here, and again, this is an extremely ergonomic grip. But this grip texture, again, more of an eye probably toward concealed carrying because obviously this is not going to abrade you or anything or tear your clothes up or anything like that. It's not the most grippy in the world. You do have to kind of put some pressure, laterally in on it to get some real traction out of it. But that said, it is not something that I feel like needs to be changed right away. So it's not something I'd go out and put grip tape on or anything. I mean, it's plenty grippy. To stay in your hands and things like that, and also to carry. So kind of a nice middle road there as far as texture is concerned. It's not like your Smith & Wesson M&P 2.0s or anything like that, but it does stay in your hand pretty nicely, and that has a lot to do with these ergonomics and the way that this is designed. Back straps here, you get two of those. You have one that's a little bit smaller than this. Obviously the small version, I think this is large, so I believe it's small and large, just the two that they supply with it. And the large fits me perfectly, and I will kind of show you guys this. So speaking of ergonomics, so where I run into issues sometimes is where this palm runs into this back strap here. And you'll notice Glock kind of being notorious for this. So you kind of see this little absent part here where, I'm kind of running in there, and then I still have this little flat part of a back strap here where it's, I can contort my hand around and things like that, but some people really have issues with, like Glocks aren't very ergonomic. I'm not really one of them, but just to kind of point that out. Now, if you notice this with this little hump back here, just kind of fits perfectly in that little swell of my hand, and it really firmly locks the gun in place. And it's just almost, I don't know, if I could, describe it any other way, it just feels like it is molded around your hand. It's just a really nice, secure feeling gun. Very, very ergonomic. So It's got a lot going for it in terms of ergonomics and design and everything like that. Let's take a look next. So this is the 15 round mag that I'm talking about with this little extension here, or the extended grip module there. This is the 10 round that was supplied with this. They also make a 10 round that has a little lip on it that will go, can't get my fingers out of the way here, it'll go down just a little bit and kind of extend down to give you a little bit more of a pinky rest. This does not have that. This is obviously just kind of chopped off there, so it's going to be a 2-finger grip at that point. I don't have an issue shooting it that way. They're not the easiest to draw because you can't get a full grip on them as you pull them out. But that is an option. So if you're really need to pack this thing in close, no problem there. Now this is a 10 round magazine, and I know nowadays, although the Glock 26 is also 10 round, a lot of these subcompacts nowadays are looking at 12 rounds with the P320 subcompact. You're also looking at 12 rounds with like the P365. You're looking at 12 rounds out of the FNS compact with either the flush or the pinky rest base plate on there out of a subcompact. So there are some out there that do supply more rounds. That might be, this is kind of middle of the road or as you'd expect, but nothing fantastic as far as ammunition power goes, as far as your capacity in here. So that might be a slight drawback for those of you that are real, capacity kings and things like that. With that said, I really don't have a whole lot more to say about the grip or anything. If you notice, this, being your typical sort of subcompact version, there's no real, mag well or feeding area or anything in there. But that said, it's really not hard to get those magazines to run up in there. Now, it's not super fast, but I don't think you'd have an issue with reloads or anything like that either. It's just definitely hard to put like a mag well or anything, or really taper this out, being that it's, midway down the grip, and this is a subcompact model. So just some things to think about. So we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty next. The trigger on this bad boy, like I said in the intro, is pretty amazing. Okay, so I don't remember the full size I had being like this. Now it could have been, and maybe I just had such a bad taste in my mouth I forgot about it. But basically, let me walk you through this here. You got a nice flat face trigger, so it's nice and flat. The little dingus here, this little safety, goes almost all the way flush. So you do feel a little rib there, but it's definitely more flat than most, so it just kind of sinks in. You don't get any hot spots on your finger. If you'll notice, we got some take up here, so that's where all your safeties are being disengaged. Come back to a nice wall, and then just a little more pressure, and it's going to break through. And as you see, it stops basically right after that, so it's pretty much going to be on the wall. As far as reset, extremely short. So just barely coming out of that reset, and then you're back into the wall, and then you can pull, just a hiccup more through that wall, and you're back into dropping the striker again. So fantastic trigger, fantastic, hands down, phenomenal trigger. If you're on the fence about this gun, don't pull the trigger, because the trigger is going to be something that really pushes you over the edge, I think. And that's really the only reason that I picked this gun up, was just because of the fantastic trigger, and it kind of ticked all those boxes as far as a nice carry gun for me. So let's get into some of the differences here. If you look up here, we don't have an exposed extractor like you do on the full size. This is actually going to be an internal extractor, and we'll kind of look at that in a minute. It's just kind of built in there. I'll try to get some light shine down in there for you, but if you guys can see it, it's going to be kind of parked over here. There we go. So right in there is your extractor, and it is a longer one, so it's not a little nubby thing. It is kind of a longer one, but it runs internally in here. And I'm not really sure if they did that for some sort of reliability issues, or if it was, maybe just to make it more sleek for carry or something, because this is going to be the model that most people choose to carry probably. But that is a difference between the full-size guns and this, is you're going to have that internal extractor. Now this gun has been completely reliable for me. I've not had any issues at all. I've not had any kind of rounds bubbling out or burping out of the gun or anything like that, as far as the spent casings or anything that throws them a pretty good ways away. And no stovepipes or anything crazy going on. A lot of that might be due to the cut of this extractor port. So as you see, it's a nice deep cut. Provides plenty of window there to get the brass out of the way. It's also kind of got a nice cut here. So as long as this extractor can kind of just get it peeked over, as this slide cycles back, it's going to help kind of knock that brass out of the way. So pretty neat design, and like I said, it's completely 100% functional, and this gun has been flawless as far as reliability has gone. So can't knock it on there, can't give any criticisms to that end. Let's take a look next at the lockup. So lockup on this gun is just extremely tight. I'm not feeling anything at all through the chamber or the barrel. Really, the only thing is just this little bit of bobble in the slide here, which is pretty normal on striker fired guns. They have to have a little bit of clearance, so they obviously work pretty well. You know, they cycle. You're not going to run into any issues with tight tolerances or anything. But it's just a really super tight lockup. You can kind of see in the end here, you know, you're not going to have a big oblong shape in this slide, so there's not a whole lot of movement with that barrel, even though it is a dropping Browning style barrel. So really tightly made gun for a striker fired gun, and it lends to the accuracy that I've seen out of it. So that build quality, along with the polygonal rifling, so we got some, you know, standard polygonal rifling here, and also this phenomenal trigger, makes this just one heck of a shooting gun, especially for its size, and especially for the fact that you can, you know, carry it so well concealed if you need to. I was basically able at 15 yards, I think I went up to 17 yards, not quite to 20, but within that distance there, I was able to, you know, really just pack rounds on top of rounds with this gun, really with no problems at all, and that's with the stock sight. So, you know, really says a lot, I think, about the gun and its accuracy. It is just incredibly accurate. And again, that trigger is probably quite a bit of it, along with that build quality, the you know, the rifling of the barrel and whatnot. It's just going to be hard to find one of these that doesn't shoot accurately. It's just a really nice shooting gun. So as we get further into this gun, it's going to break down just like a Glock. So, you know, just like your PPQ, where you're pulling these down after you pull that trigger. Inside, nice and simple. No frills here. This should not look any different than most of your other PPQ Walther family. So we get into this kind of oddball stuff here. Now I remember the PPQ being a little bit recoil happy, not too crazy, but it was a little bit snappy. So we see this double captive recoil spring, as you see in most of these guns now. These do a really good job at kind of quelling that slide recoil before it slams into the back of the you know, bottoms out in that slide, causing a little bit of muzzle flip. So this does a really nice job kind of controlling that slide. Get the barrel out here, and you kind of see a slightly shorter barrel. This is not where I'd consider like danger zone. It's definitely more than 3.5 inches. Probably not quite 4 inches in length. So if I compare it to your 4-inch Glock barrel, we're going to be close, I think, but you know, probably not in that zone either. So probably between 3.5 and 4 inches is what I guess on this. Literature's out there. I really haven't looked too closely into it, but you see all those locking lugs there on the barrel. Do a nice job of kind of locking that in place. And that rifling again, you know, really nice rifling in there. Nice tight seal of those bullets, and does aid in accuracy. So we'll look at the slide itself. Now here's where some people get a little bit queasy. Back in here, there is a huge chunk machined out of the gun itself to save weight and to kind of reduce some of that, or I should say speed up that cycling of this slide to make it a little more reliable. And you're going to see that large chunk of polymer in there. So that is polymer, that's not metal. It's all polymer in there. And some people, you know, saw that instantly and are like, oh man, that's going to cause some reliability issues. You know, basically where it's located, being behind pretty much any of your volatile explosion and whatnot up here in the chamber, doesn't really cause any issues. It's just going to be kind of a sliding piece here. And they did it, I believe, mostly to save weight without having any crazy windows or anything like that in the slide. That could obviously cause some issues with debris if you carry this gun a lot. So I'm going to say, you know, nicely done. Nice design. Feeds well. Like I say, out of this gun, I've not had any issues. But just kind of know there is a big polymer chunk in there to make this slide a little bit lighter. And man, it does feel super light. So we'll get it on the scales here in a minute. Let me slap it back together here. And as I'm doing so, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about this gun as a carry option. It kind of ticks all the boxes. Now, as far as recoil goes, this was a surprisingly light recoiling gun. I would put this right on par with like your Glock 19. It really surprised me how well it recoiled, or how well it handled that recoil. Returned back to target really easy. I didn't feel any snap at all. There's really nothing crazy going on. But one of the drawbacks I will kind of mention, these magazines are specific to the gun. So obviously this one is only going to fit in this smaller truncated version, but these longer ones, even though this is not an integral part, in other words, this can slide off and you've got a standard size 15 round magazine, these are marked PPQ SC down there, and that's because they will not fit in this gun. They will not function in this gun if you use the standard full-size magazine. So two things they say to watch out for. First off, they say always use one of these sleeves on there, because if you take the sleeve off and you just run the magazine up in there, you could cause some damage to that internal extractor that I mentioned. So you could just run the magazine up in there past the catch, cause some damage to the gun. So always use one of these if you're using the longer magazine. Also, spring rates are different for this subcompact version. So if you use the standard version, this slide cycles faster, and you're probably going to have some issues with the reliability. So just keep that in mind. If you really like this gun, you're going to have to get XC or subcompact specific magazines so everything is kosher and it fits up. Now, physically, they are the same. They will physically fit, but like I say, they will not function due to spring rates, at least according to Walther. I don't have any data myself to back that up. So with that said and out of the way, we'll put this on the scale next. This is going to be probably the most common carry configuration here with this truncated magazine, and we'll compare this to some other guns here. So initial weigh-in, we're looking at 1 pound 5.4 ounces on my scale with the shorter magazine in, obviously unloaded. Let's go with the Glock 19 next, and this is the only magazine I can put in that bad boy. So 1 pound 8.4 ounces, so 3 ounces heavier with the Glock 19. Let's take a look at this F&S compact next. That's going to check in 1 pound 7.5 ounces. What else do we have? Let's get Beretta in the mix here. Let's check out this Beretta PX4 Storm compact carry. 1 pound 11 ounces. So a little bit heavier there. Let's get crazy with it. Let's just see what we have here. So got some kind of wacky 320 RX compact slide on the carry frame. 1 pound 14 ounces. Obviously we're kind of getting up there in weight now, and I'm just being bonkers. But I did want to show some other guns, just those of you who are allergic to Glock, just to know that we do have some other guns in the mix here we can compare it to. Let me put the longer magazine in. My one that I'm really interested in is this one, which is very close to what you're going to get out of a Glock 19. We got a little bit more length down here out of the Walther with that extended magazine end than you will out of the Glock 19. So, but you kind of save a little bit in the front end. Okay, so kind of all washes out depending on how you look at it or how you carry. So let's see what we're looking at here. Let's see, 1 pound 6.5 ounces. Okay, and if I remember right, we had 1 pound 8.5 ounces, so we're looking at a couple ounces less unloaded than the Glock 19 with this extended magazine in. Let's take a look at the F&S next with this full-size magazine in it, 17 rounds. 1 pound 8.5 ounces there on the F&S compact. So again, looking at some pretty astonishing light numbers, and for those light numbers, because of the lightning they've done in this slide, it really does point well. You don't have that kind of heavy slide on a super light frame feel, so just nicely done. I really, like I say, I can't find too much to complain about on this gun other than it's kind of a unique gun. There's really nothing else out there that is going to have the same sort of trigger besides a Walther PPQ. So with that said, 2 thumbs pretty far up so far on this gun. Now, again, it's a little bit strange. It's probably not one of the ones that I'm going to go to as a main carry, I don't think. Now, that may change. But with that said, if you're looking for a nice gun, tremendous trigger, you just like the PPQ lineup, you're going to be hard-pressed to find something better than this. And frankly, if somebody said you can either pick one, Glock 26 with a 10-round magazine or PPQ SC with a 10-round magazine, I'm going Walther, guys. That's just how much I like this gun. I really think it's a tremendous gun. Not a whole lot to complain about, gripe about, anything like that. And I'm interested enough in this gun that I do want to try the 5-inch, the Q5 match, just because of this gun and this trigger. I just think it's a phenomenal setup. So really impressed. Definitely check it out if you're in the market for a subcompact gun. I think that you're going to be, having a pretty hard time because there's a lot of good options out there. And the trigger on this one, you're not going to find anything that beats it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment if you like these videos. I'll keep coming at you. Thanks again for watching. Remember to practice your craft and continue to expand your knowledge out there in firearms and in our shooting sport. Thanks again for tuning in, guys.